Just so you know, we'll be recording this for our YouTube page. And so I'm just kind of putting a disclaimer out there. If you want to ask questions or what have you, you will be recorded if that's okay. Just disclaimer there. Good? Okay, well, first of all, I want to welcome you all to coming out today on such a nice day, first nice day in a long time. So thanks for taking the time. I think this is a really important subject that we're going to talk about today. I arranged this meeting today because all too often while investigating crimes against children, I've noticed a lack of parental knowledge with regards to what their children are doing online and on their electronic devices. Throughout this presentation, please feel free to ask questions. Though I'm not an expert on all things related to this subject, I will do my best to answer your questions and I'll let you know if I don't know. And at the end of the presentation, there will be a time to ask more questions. But throughout, go ahead and raise your hand if you have something that you want to ask. So a bit about me. My name is Stacy Triker. I am a police detective here at the Edmonds Police Department. I've been with Edmonds PD for 10 years and have been a detective for just under 5 years. My case assignments involve crimes against persons, specifically physical assaults against children, sexual assaults against children and adults, and child exploitation cases. I also monitor the level 1 sex offenders who live within the city limits, and that's pretty much all I want to say about that. My contact information is on the screen here. If you might want to ask me a question, not today, but maybe through email or phone, go ahead and jot that down. There's some flyers if you didn't get one. My contact information is in that as well. So that's another way that you can ask some questions if you want to do that. All right. So getting started. The internet has drastically changed the way that people educate themselves and interact with the world. Children now have immediate access to information that we as kids never had. With a quick keystroke, they can access the score of yesterday's Seahawks game, purchase anything, chat with people they've never met, and can even view pornography. Almost anything they need or want can be accessed through the internet, and without your knowledge, if you're not looking or do not know where or what to look for. So with new ways to connect, the internet also offers numerous risks. These are several things we're going to talk about today, starting with cyberbullying. We're going to talk about chat rooms, file sharing, online predators, child exploitation, oversharing, sexting, and social media. Cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is essentially bullying over the internet or through technology. Bullying is unwanted, aggressive behavior that involves a real or perceived power imbalance. The behavior is repeated or has the potential of being repeated over time. Bullying may include actions such as making threats, spreading rumors, attacking someone physically or verbally, and excluding someone from a group or on purpose. Bullying can occur in person or through technology, which would be the cyberbullying part of it. So as a nation and in our schools and homes and local communities, we are constantly trying to educate our youth about bullying. We tell them, don't be a bully, treat others with respect. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Speak up and report if you see someone being bullied, and stand up for yourself and report it if you're being bullied. The problem is, it's hard to expect our children to take the moral high ground when every day they are subjected to a culture that normalizes bullying. Examples of bullying can be seen every day within local, national, and social media. Sadly, a lot, if not most of these poor examples come from the adults, role models, and celebrities they look up to. These are several tweets from Twitter that I copied off the internet. The people represented here are famous celebrities, comedians, rappers, football players, and there's even a corporate exec in there. As you can see through the tweets, we've got an array of racism, sexism, anti-LGBT, and anti-disabilities comments. These celebrities may be people that your children are following on Twitter. And if not these celebrities, chances are they're following other celebrities on Twitter that may also have nothing important to add or anti-hate rhetoric or what have you. So not only is it important to keep in mind what your kids are doing online, like, oh, my kid has a Twitter account, what are they viewing on Twitter? Who are they following? And that type of thing. So these are little things to keep in mind. Sorry, I went back a slide there. So why cyberbully? There are a lot of reasons why kids bully or cyberbully. Kids may feel powerless in their own lives. Perhaps someone else is bullying them. They may be jealous or frustrated with the person that they're bullying. There may be a lack of understanding or empathy towards a person or a group of people. They may be looking for attention, mimicking behaviors of family members or friends. They may have recognized that bullying behavior may be rewarded. And I think this is a big one. There may be an inability to regulate emotions. This age group that we're talking about, their brains aren't really fully developed until they're like in their early to mid 20s. And so emotional, trying to cope with things every day, these things are already hard for them. And then, you throw in other issues on top of that, family issues, et cetera, then you got really troubled kids. In a 2015 nationwide sample of youth in grades 9 to 12, 20% said they were bullied at school. That's 1 in 5, so that's quite a bit. 15% were bullied electronically. Chances are, if they're being bullied at school, they're probably also being bullied electronically. Because quite frankly, it's easier to bully electronically because people feel like they have, this big bravado and anonymity behind these screens. They feel, it's a lot easier to say something behind a screen than to somebody's face. The bully versus the bullied. According to the CDC.gov, youth who youth who report frequently bullying others and youth who report being bullied are at increased risk for suicide-related behaviors. So this is interesting. It's not just the kids that are being bullied that are at risk for suicidal behaviors, it's the actual bullies themselves. With that, negative outcomes of bullying for youth who bully, youth who are bullied, and youth who bully and are bullied may include depression and or anxiety, involvement in interpersonal violence or sexual violence, substance abuse, poor social functioning, and poor school performance and or attendance. So again, it goes both ways. It's not just the victims, it's also the bullies themselves. Obviously, if they're bullying, they've got a lot of issues going on in their lives, and they're having some negative outcomes as well. So what can you do if your child is a victim of cyberbullying? Advise your teen not to respond to any messages, posts, or comments directed at them. Have your teen save and or take screenshots of the messages, posts, tweets, images, etc. Take note of the sent and received dates and timestamps for timeline and reporting purposes. A lot of times teens, when we get cases, the teens will say, here's all the messages from the person, and maybe we'll take photographs of them, or maybe the kids will turn their phones over. But if we don't have the time and date stamps, it's hard chronologically sometimes to put everything together and make sense of it. So if you can, that's really helpful for us. If you find that a website has been made in order to harm your kid, you can contact the website administrator or the ISP to have them remove the page. So like a fake page that maybe casts a bad light on your child. Catfishing, have any of you heard of catfishing? Okay, that type of thing. If the harassment is via social media, have your teen block the bullies, use their privacy settings, or delete their current social media accounts. If your teen opens a new account, consider having them create a profile name other than their true name and suggest that they not friend anyone who they do not know or trust. How many of you guys have social media accounts? Facebook, Twitter, what have you? How many of you actually use your true names as your profile names? Okay, most of you. And that's kind of normal for adults. Because of what I do for a living, I have a totally fake name on social media because I don't want people to find me unless I want them to find me. And I tell kids, have a fake name. because if someone wants to bully you or whatever, it's going to be harder for them to find you. Also for identity reasons, online predators, etc., people that maybe keep an eye on you, that maybe you don't want them checking you out, it's best to, that's what I think, it's best to just kind of keep yourself, under the radar. So that's one of my suggestions. If the harassment is via text message, phone, or email, consider changing their phone number, email address, and instruct them to only share their new contact info with people within their inner circle. Also check their cell phones for features that may allow certain numbers to be blocked. I know this is a big pain to consider changing a phone number or an email address, but really that's the quickest way to stop the harassment, is to just nip it right there. And then if your child gets a new phone number, they can kind of start over. They're not maybe tied to the email addresses and the phone numbers as much as we are with all the contact information we have to give out, but, and they'll fight you on it. So another thing is get the school involved. Learn your child's school policy on bullying and urge the administrators to take action when appropriate. Remember, your child has a right to feel and be safe at school while they're getting their education. And of course, the other option is always report to the police, which brings us to cyber stalking. Cyber stalking is the actual Washington state law that talks about cyberbullying. We call it cyber stalking. A person is guilty of cyber stalking if he or she, with the intent to harass, intimidate, torment, or embarrass any other person, and under the circumstances not constituting telephone harassment, makes an electronic communication to such other person or third party by using lewd, lascivious, indecent, obscene words, images, or language, or suggesting the commission of any lewd or lascivious act, anonymously or repeatedly, whether or not a conversation occurs, or threatens to inflict injury on the person or property of the person or any member of his or her family or household. It is a gross misdemeanor, punishable for up to a year in jail and up to a $5,000 fine. If the person has already been convicted of cyber stalking the same victim, then it's a felony. Or if there are threats to kill, then it's a felony, C felony. We're going to switch gears a little bit to another type of harassment, malicious harassment. Person is guilty of malicious harassment if he or she maliciously and intentionally commits one of the following acts because of his or her perception of the victim's race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, or mental, physical, or sensory handicap. They do so by causing physical injury or physical damage or destruction of property, or threatens a specific person or group of persons and places that person or members of the specific group of persons in reasonable fear. We're going to come back to that one in just a few minutes. Another way they could commit this crime is by burning a cross on the property of a victim who is or whom the actor perceives to be of African American heritage, or defaces property of a victim who is or whom the actor perceives to be of Jewish heritage by defacing the property with a swastika. It's a Class C felony. How many of you have students that went to Edmonds Woodway High School last year? One? Okay. So you may or may not be familiar with the incident that happened last year, maybe. So essentially, last December, during the school, not this last as in a couple months ago, but last school year, there was an incident where two boys opened up a Facebook page, a group page. It was private, so only the people that they invited into the page could view the page or group. And essentially, they were two Caucasian boys, and they were making a bunch of racial slurs towards African American people. And it was like you see on TV only. It was really bad. The stuff that they were saying, talking about lynching and all this horrible stuff, and even talked about targeting a specific student at the school and lynching that student like the next day. We got wind of it through the school, and I investigated that case, and essentially what ended up happening was so the reason why I ask is a letter went home to the parents because there was some hysteria around this, because there was talks about shooting up the school and all that through the page. The student that was actually targeted, it's kind of a weird chain of events where he didn't really feel like he was a victim because he was actually kind of friends with these kids. And so he really didn't, he's like, yeah, whatever, those kids are dumb. Like, I'm not afraid of them. Because the African-American kid was kind of a big guy, and these two kids were like little pipsqueaks. So, so he didn't feel threatened. However, when I investigated the case, we went back to that clause there in the statute that says they threaten a specific person. Again, this kid wasn't really feeling threatened, or a group of persons, and places that person or members of a specific groups of persons in reasonable fear. We determined that by what was said and the threats that they were spewing, essentially any member of the African American race would be reasonably in fear. And so we charged both, we actually arrested and charged both students with malicious harassment, Class C felony. I don't know exactly all what happened to them, because they pled guilty, so it didn't go to court. But I do know part of their punishment was that they had to do some community service with an African American charity or organization. So school districts do have to, schools that are federally funded are required by law to handle any claims of harassment. So keep that in mind. If you believe that your child's being harassed in any way, and you believe that this is spilling over into the school environment, get your schools involved. All right, switching gears a little bit to email, instant messaging, and chat rooms. A study from the Pew Internet and American Life Project shows that teens aged 12 to 17 use text messages to communicate with their friends more than email or instant messaging. However, these online communication services, along with chat rooms, continue to be an important part of children's online gaming and virtual worlds. Email accounts, for example, are often required to join social media networking sites, online games, and virtual worlds. Some social networking sites, like Facebook, often have instant messaging and email components. So, although your kids may not use email per se outside of school, they may have private email accounts, because to join things like Facebook and Twitter, you have to have email. So that may be another way that they may be communicating with people that you do or don't know, is through their private email accounts. I think sometimes parents forget about email because you never see them really on email. Like other sources of electronic communication, email, instant messaging, and chat room provides teens a way to connect with people they've never met in person, making them vulnerable to online predators, cyberbullies, and scam artists. So we are going to check out this video.
Hi Zach, here's another video from my special guy. I can't believe we haven't talked all day. I wish you went to my school or lived closer so we could finally meet.
Hey kiddo, dinner in an hour. Don't spend too long on the phone.
Okay, I know you've been waiting for this for a while, so I wanted to give you something special. Is this okay?
Who are you? Why are you doing this?
So I was searching through YouTube yesterday, trying to find a good video for this presentation, and I was quite surprised to find a dramatization featuring this story because I had a case just like it. This was a couple years ago. It was involving a young teenage girl. She had met a person on Omegle. Does anybody know what Omegle is? Okay, Omegle, we're going to get into that, but essentially it's a chat room where everyone's anonymous. You're anonymous person 1 and they're anonymous person 2, no names. You can select the topic that you want to talk about, and the website will pair you with people that want to talk about it. It's on the internet, so it's, you know, worldwide. You're talking to somebody maybe not even from this country. She had admittedly went into the chat room and put in the topic of sadomasochism. And voila, somebody wanted to talk about that. And so essentially what happened, within 2 hours, the communication between her and this guy started on Omegle, then went over into Kick Messenger. Does anybody know what Kick Messenger is? Some people are shaking their heads, okay. Kick Messenger is a free texting app that works off of Wi-Fi. So your kid doesn't necessarily need a cell phone, they just need Wi-Fi, so a tablet would work. And she didn't have a cell phone, so she had a tablet. Kick Messenger, so the guy asked her to go over to Kick, and they chatted on Kick, and then he said, hey, do you have Skype? And she's like, yeah. So she goes over to Skype. His camera and his microphone weren't working, which should be a big red flag, but she you know, she's 14, she didn't know any better, and so she couldn't hear or see him, but he could hear and see her. And essentially, you know, within 2 hours, he had her undressing and essentially doing whatever, and within a couple of days, after, you know, he just kept doing it, and she was starting to realize, and, you know, he knows so much about me, but I don't know anything about him, and this is kind of getting old, and it's starting to get sketchy. So she decides, you know, oh, I can't talk to you. I can't, well, my parents are home, or, you know, she was coming up with excuses like this girl was. And essentially he ended up threatening her, same thing. If you do not get on Skype right now and get on the cam, then I'm going to post the videos I took of you online. And just like the video, he was like, okay, you've got 20 minutes. Then he texts her again, you've got 15 minutes. And she didn't know what to do. So she told a friend who told the school counselor, and then that person, you know, mandatorily reported it, and that's how we got involved. Unfortunately, due to Omegle being completely anonymous and Kick Messenger, there's some issues with that that app. We'll get into that a little bit later. My trail of this guy got to like Washington, D.C., and then it ran cold. And so essentially we kind of had to cut our losses and say, unfortunately, there's not much else we can do for you, because this guy knew what he was doing. He was very quick. This was not the first time, clearly. After looking at the messages and stuff, he was very good at what he did. So chances are he did take video. Chances are he is trading those videos in the dark net with other pedophiles and what have you. I think this is a really important case to talk about, because a lot of parents may think, and even kids think, you know, online predators, that doesn't, you know, it happens, and it happens quite a bit. So it's really important to know, again, what are our kids doing while they're online. And of course, they're doing this stuff, you know, after hours when parents have gone to bed or what have you, and it's kind of a scary thing. Yes, absolutely.
My son, of course, was not thrilled that I was coming here, because he's convinced I'm going to turn off the Wi-Fi and keep all the internet, which I mean. But he actually said to me, and I quote, and tell me if I quote this, he actually said, I would know if I was being pedophile, was the way he phrased it. And I was like, oh, definitely have to go to this thing. But they feel very confident, like they would know if something was not right. And I mean, I don't even know half these apps, you know,
Right.
rapidly.
Absolutely. And at the end, we're going to go into the most common top apps that kids are using today. But yeah, there's always something new and better coming out, and that's kind of a challenge that we have as parents, is that we need to keep up with the trends, and if that means going through their phones randomly, and that's the agreement that you have. If you have a phone that I get to check it and see what you're up to, then that's the agreement. And it's not because maybe you necessarily don't trust them, it's just you maybe don't trust the other people that may be contacting them. So it works both ways, and of course, kids are invisible and nothing can happen to me, so, but clearly things do happen. So, and this student, she was like a IB student, honor roll, and time again, when I get cases that are like this, it's not the troubled kids, it's the top athletes, and it's the great students, and I mean, anybody can fall victim to this stuff. So that's why it's important that we're here today. So sexual exploitation of a minor is essentially what that guy was doing to this female. It's when you compel a minor by threat or force to engage in sexually explicit conduct, knowing that such conduct will be photographed or part of a live performance, or by aiding, inviting, employing, authorized, or causes a minor to engage in sexually explicit conduct. Another clause is being a parent or legal guardian of a minor who permits the minor to engage in sexually explicit conduct, knowing that such conduct will be photographed or part of a live performance. It's a Class B felony. I keep pushing that. So the next case example I'm going to talk to you about is a case involving dealing in depictions of minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct and also possession of depictions. Essentially, that's possessing child pornography. In this state, because our legislature really hasn't caught up to the times of sexting, our state treats sexting with minors back and forth as child porn. As, adults trying to get pictures from kids is child porn. So this was a case involving 3 teens, 2 boys and a girl. They had agreed to have sex. It was legal, they were the right ages, it was going to be a private thing between the 3 of them. The girl went as far as to say, hey, no cell phones, no pictures, no videos. She even went to the lengths of putting the phones in the corner of the room, and that was that. So sometime later, she woke up one morning and her phone was blowing up from text messages from friends saying that there was a photograph of her on Twitter for about 17 minutes. And it was a picture of her and the guys in the act. And so that just went viral because the 17 minutes, people are sharing it and forwarding it. So by the time it got pulled, it was too late. What ended up happening is one of the boys took the photograph, and then somehow a third party, another boy, his friend, got a copy of the picture. And after getting the legal response back from Twitter from the warrant, I watched all of their communication on Twitter, and the boys that were involved in the sexual act were goading the other kid on, come on, post it, it'll be funny, ha ha ha, come on, yeah, just for a few minutes, And so that was kind of disgusting. And the other boy posted the photo, and then 17 minutes later or so, he tore it down. But again, by that time, it was shared, it was copied, it's long gone, right? So this was a case, obviously, girl, maybe in retrospect made a bad choice, trusting these guys. It's my understanding, and that she had to leave school for at least a short period of time because things got really bad for her at school. The 2 boys, the boy that took the photo and the friend that uploaded the photo, they were both charged with dealing in depictions, which yes, they were both charged in dealing. So one passed it to the other, and that one passed it up to the internet. So they're dealing in the photo. And then they were also charged with possession of child pornography for having the photo. Both felonies. They both pled to lower charges of cyber stalking. That's what their plea deal was. They were top athletes and students and never had any type of trouble with the law. And so they I believe they did like 10 days in juvenile hall or jail, and then that was it. However, I found out later that one of the boys went off to some college in another state, and the school somehow in the other state got wind of this case, called our police department, and through public disclosure request asked for a copy of the case. And I've heard from several parents and people in the community that the boy who was on some type of ride of scholarship for the sport lost his scholarship. And so, you know, this kind of goes back to kids not thinking about the long term and just thinking in the moment, and kids being kids or being really dumb. So, I don't know how else to put it. So, I do give these types of internet talks to the students at Edmonds Woodway High School to let them know, like, hey, these are actually crimes. You can't, I know that, you know, maybe when it comes to sexting, sometimes it's consensual, like someone sent a pic, but it's actually against the law. You can't have it because 99.999% of the time, it gets shared and it's, you know, gets passed around. So possession of depictions, I just kind of explained what that was, essentially possessing any type of sexually explicit conduct. I'll let you read what that is all about, and it's a Class B felony. So switching gears a little bit to sexting. Sexting is the sharing and or receiving of sexually explicit messages and nude or partially nude images via electronic means. Sex may be sent as a regular text message or through apps like Snapchat, Kik, and Facebook. Recent raise your hand polls by myself at Edmonds Woodway High School health class shows that more than 50% of students aged 14 to 16 have either sent, received, have been shown, or been requested to share explicit images of themselves. This is the culture of today. Through case investigation after case investigation, talking to victims, it's real interesting to see how the times have changed. I know when I was a teenager, you know, even saying the words like penis was just, and you know, you get these victims in here and they're talking about this type of stuff like it's just, we're talking about algebra. You know, it's just very everyday topic. This is the culture. This is normal for them. And when I ask this question in the class, they all just kind of giggle. And I say, I'm not asking, you know, who sent you what. I just want to know how many of you have had that happen. And I put 50%. It's probably more than that. But to be safe, I don't know how many of them are lying. So how can you educate your teen about the dangers of sexting? Clarify your and your family's expectations and values when it comes to sex, relationships, and the usage of electronic communication devices, the internet, and social media. Discuss what characterizes a healthy relationship. Explain that any person pressuring them to send explicit images is not someone they should trust. Explain how quickly information can be spread online. Emphasize that once an image is shared, it is out of their control, cannot be recalled from the internet, and will forever be available to be shared by anyone in the future. Help your teen understand the potential consequences of their image being shared, like a damage to their reputation, issues with future employment, college acceptance, etc. Help your teen understand the consequences they could face for possessing and or forwarding shared images. So the dangers of oversharing. What is your teen sharing online? About themselves, about your family? Are they sharing where they live, where they work, or go to school? Are they posting about your upcoming family vacation to Europe? These are important things because if I'm Sally teenager and it's spring break and I'm like, woo, we're going to Mexico, my family's going to Mexico for spring break, and I post online that I live in Edmonds and my name is Sally Smith, which is a really common name, or maybe my name is Sally Triker, and that's really easy to maybe find out where I live, then burglars in the community who are opportunists know Sally Triker is on vacation for a week with her family. So not only is it a danger to the kids and their families depending on what they post, it could also be a situation where the family or the home or whatever else gets victimized. So oversharing, by your kids could also have consequences to you or your family. You know, if your older student is posting cutesy pictures of their very young sibling, you know, there's pedophiles. It's just something, you got to think about all these things that most average people don't think about, because most average people are good people and they don't think about the bad things. So child pornography, selfies. So I had a child pornography case. This guy was possessing thousands of, like 30,000 images / videos of child pornography. And what was interesting to me is when I viewed the media, yes, there was some really bad child pornography stuff in there. But what was most kind of surprising to me was that there were thousands upon thousands of pictures of girls taking selfies. And they were very, you know, very plain pictures. You know, it's just, you know, they weren't scantily clad, they weren't naked, maybe they were in a bathing suit, but it was just those, hi, I'm in my bathroom taking a picture, look at me, I'm cute. And he had thousands of those. Essentially, what he was doing is trolling the internet for people and kids' pages who were open to the public and copying and pasting photos. And I mean, like I want to say there was just thousands of them. And so I tell the kids in school, you know, hey, girls and boys, keep in mind that these kind of benign pictures that you're taking, there are creepers trolling the internet, and now your picture's in their file. So things to think about. Yes? You know, I don't, essentially he had folders in his cell phone that we had seized. And so one of the folders had horrific child pornography type things, and then there was a folder of like just girls. And it was a specific age group. So preteen, I think it was like preteen, like, you know, 10, 11, 12 age group. And that was his choice, I guess, if you will. And that's what he had. He just had tons. So I was just shocked to see that, because I was expecting to see all the bad stuff, and then to see this stuff, I was like, oh. And, you know, girls and boys, they take pictures like this, and they don't really realize that it's not just my friends that are looking at my pictures. So here's a quick video of about oversharing. It's a Microsoft research video.
Hi there, I'm Jack Vale. One of the things that we use social media for all the time is to announce our upcoming activities, where we eat, where we're gonna be, how long we're gonna be there. I wonder how hard it would be to go out in public and really track these people down based on what they posted. Are you Ashley?
I am, yeah.
You're Ashley?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. I'm Jack.
Hi.
What's that?
Do I know you?
No, no. Rhett Van, how's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
Good, what's going on?
Not much, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm Jack. Gary?
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, dude? Jack.
Jack from?
Yeah, from class. I'm usually pretty good with names and stuff.
That's
so.
fine.
I just guessed yours, yeah. Utah, right? Yeah. See, just comes to me. I'm not weird or anything like that. I just like, sometimes I can pick up things about other people. You were taking finals the other day, and I was like a few weeks ago. Yeah, you remember?
Which class?
Medical. You had the thing, and didn't you go to ASU? I don't know. Hang on a second. Excuse me, Lizzie. Do you have a black dog? Yeah. Do you have a black dog?
I didn't know my name was
Sorry, maybe I got the wrong guy. You like fast cars and yeah. I'm Jack. Is your last name G? Start with a G? Like G?
How do you know this information?
How do you know this about me? I'm not really psychic, but I did see your post, and Microsoft hired me to do a social media experiment. We're shooting a hidden camera segment for a Microsoft experiment about social media. And you posted something and we saw what you look like. So like, okay, so we can't, well, but you made it public. And they got all of that information just by your social media posts. It was location-based and in real time, like real Twitter time. Social media experiment, man.
Oh, bro.
Good to meet you. Thanks for being cool, man. So it all comes down to this. Do one thing. Share your plans with your friends, not the rest of the world. Because next time, it may not be me researching your exact location. It could be a potentially dangerous person.
But I also know you probably don't have a boyfriend either. I can tell because, again, that whole...
Wow. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Or me. It could be me.
That always gets good chuckles. So location-based GPS, you know, if your kids are working off their mobile devices and their location settings are turned on, if they're posting from Twitter, it may, you know, they may post a tweet about, oh, it's a nice day, and it'll say Edmonds, Washington. I usually advise kids if they're not, you know, there's no reason for them to have their locations turned on their devices and or through their social media sites like Twitter, turn them off because, again, it's just, it invites trouble. So meeting people offline, whenever I see this phrase or hear this phrase, I've always thought stranger danger, you know, pedophiles, creepers. But I was talking with a coworker one day about this presentation, and she was telling me about a recent incident involving her 17-year-old son. She'd asked him if he wanted to go to the store with her, and he's like, no, I'm going to meet this guy. And she's working at the police department. She's suspicious. She's like, what do you mean this guy? Where are you going to meet him? He's like Safeway. Well, why? I'm going to go buy his iPad. Okay. And have you met this guy before? He's like, yeah, on Facebook Marketplace, which is essentially the Craigslist of Facebook. So he meets some random dude and is going to go buy his iPad. So the mom says, well, okay, so what happens when you go there and he robs you of your cell phone? Well, I was going to leave my cell phone in the car. Okay, so what happens when you get there and he robs you of your money that you're bringing with you to buy the iPad? Because now your cell phone's in the car. Who are you going to call? Oh. She's like, yeah, you didn't really have this planned out very well, and you're not going to meet the guy. And so, again, you know, the internet access, you know, kids are making these, you know, these deals with people online. They, again, they think that nothing can happen to them. They've got it all worked out in their head. I don't know how many countless investigations and reports that we've taken of robberies involving Craigslist type exchanges. So real dangerous thing. So that's just another thing about meeting people offline to think about. Keep pushing that. So the dangers of accepting strangers or that friend of a friend as friends or followers online. I had another case a couple years ago involving a junior high boy, a junior high student who got a friend request on Facebook from this girl. And at first glance, he thought, oh yeah, I think that's so-and-so's friend, so accept. Quickly, he realized, oh, that's not who I thought it was, but she's really pretty, and she's older, and she's wanting to message me, so we're gonna keep this going. So through Facebook Messenger, private messaging, they start having a conversation, and it quickly turns sexual on her part, or in this case, it may be his part, because we don't know who he's really talking to. And he or she tells the boy, send me a picture of your penis. And he does, because she's saying, I'm going to send you one of me next. And so he sends a picture, and in the picture, his face is also included. Again, he's junior high, so he's pretty naive about what's going on. And immediately after sending the picture, the person starts saying, hey, if you don't send me $200, I'm going to post this to all your friends. And so he goes and tells a friend who tells somebody, and then it gets reported to us. And I take one look at the Facebook page, and it's got red flags written all over it. There's one profile picture of this girl, no other photos, like one follower or friend, from New York City. And I said, you know, unfortunately, there's not much we can do for you because this is most likely going to track back to somewhere, probably not even in the state. And time and resources, we're not getting your picture back. And unfortunately, it's probably going to lead to a dead end. It's, you know, I may not ever find out who's behind this fake page. So it was kind of chalk it up to a lesson learned. But extortion and other things happen online as well. And that happens quite a bit. The whole, kind of like the creepy video we saw earlier, send me this or I'm going to do that type thing. So now we're going to talk about the top social media apps that teens are using today. Again, this can change as early as tomorrow, so keep that in mind. I wish I'd stop doing that. Okay, so the first one is Snapchat. How many of you are familiar with Snapchat? Kids, don't raise your hands because I know you are. All right. All right, most of you, good. Are your teens using it? Okay, are your parents using it? You do? Okay, yeah, editing, filtering, yeah, okay. And it's good that you actually use it because then you know the capabilities of what it can do.
You know, I really don't though. In fact, I read an article recently that it was an article called, does anybody really know how to use Snapchat? Because it's very confusing. And so I know how to use the funny filters, but I've never used it to capture a message.
Okay,
So,
yeah, it does have private messaging features as well. So let's talk about what it is. It's a popular mobile app that allows the user to edit, send videos and pictures, either publicly or within a private network of followers, both of which will self-destruct after a few seconds of the person viewing them. Snapchat also has the private messaging feature too. So used to using my mouse. So why it appeals to teens. Teens use the app to share goofy or embarrassing photos or stories, which are essentially several photographs maybe linked together to show kind of a video without the perceived risk of them going public. However, there are lots of opportunities to use it in other ways. What parents need to know. It's a myth that snaps go away forever. Data is data. Whenever an image is sent, it never truly goes away. For example, the person on the receiving end can take a screenshot of the image before it disappears. So when this app first came out, it was a highly popular app to go to for sexting because, oh, I can send the naughty pic, it'll go away in a couple of seconds, and if the person doesn't know what they're getting, they may not have time to save a photo, you know, save it and send it. I believe now there are features on the phone, on the Snapchat app, that will let the sender know if someone screenshotted the image. Is that right, kids? Yeah. Okay. All right. You got a question?
Well, couldn't they just use a cell phone and shoot it with a picture on the screen?
They could, yeah. I mean, there's in the beginning, I mean, this blew up as a sexting app in the beginning, but then Snapchat, they got into a little bit of trouble, and so they have revamped it a little bit and put a little bit more safety features in it. But, you know, you can still screenshot, and okay, so I know that you screenshot it. It doesn't help me if I just sent you a naughty pic. So, the seemingly risk-free messaging might encourage users to share sexually explicit images. So I'm going to ask the two teens back there, why does it appeal to you? Snapchat. You can what? Okay, like messaging. Okay. All right. Good to know. Twitter. Most of us know what yeah, go for it.
All those images or data which are on the Snapchat servers, so they can do whatever they want with their images, all of them.
Well, I mean, within law, I guess, but yes.
Dark web, they can go to the dark web.
Yeah, possibly. But kind of like what you were saying, like even when we have investigations with search warrants, we can get sometimes the photos as well. So when the kids say, oh, you know, I sent them this pic, and now they've sent it and shared it with all these people, and then I go to Snapchat to show that she sent this guy this pic, and then I ask Snapchat for the pic and the messages preceding and after. I've had cases where I didn't get everything. So I don't really know how much they may save, or maybe there's like a time lapse when they save after up to this point, because there's millions. I mean, they can only store so much. Data's data, it doesn't go away necessarily always. So something to keep in mind. So Twitter, we know what it is. It's an online or mobile news and social networking service where users post and interact with messages known as tweets, which are restricted to 140 characters. Registered users can post tweets, but those who are unregistered can only read them. What parents need to know. Public tweets are the norm for teens. Though you can keep your tweets private, most teens report having public accounts. When I go into the high school and I have this conversation with them, most all teens say, yeah, my Twitter's public. How about you guys? No? Do you use Twitter? No? Okay. So another thing you need to know, updates appear immediately. Even though you can later remove your tweets, your followers can still read and retweet or share them until you remove it. This can get users in trouble if they say something in the heat of the moment. Remember those celebrity tweets I showed you earlier? Those were shared and copied and pasted before they could pull them down. So that can get people in trouble. That's why I'm not on Twitter. Instagram is a mobile app that lets users take, edit, share pictures, and 15-second videos either publicly or within a private network of followers, as well as through a variety of other social networking platforms such as Facebook or Twitter. So if you have an Instagram and a Facebook account, I can take a picture of myself, I can use filters, I can edit them, and then I can share them directly through Instagram into Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram. So I can not only share it on my Instagram, I can share it on my Facebook too. What parents need to know, teens are on the lookout for likes. Similar to Facebook, teens may measure the success of their photos, even their self-worth, by the number of likes or comments they receive. Quantity versus quality. So I had a case recently involving a potential predator, online pedophile guy, possibly. Mom had reason to believe that this person that was talking to their child may have not been on the up and up. So mom and teen come in. I said, okay, you've got all these messages. I'm going to want to take your phone. And the teen flipped out. She's like, no, you can't have my phone. I was like, I need your phone to do the investigation. It's just like the quickest, easiest way. She's like, well, I go, and I'm going to need you to stay off Instagram because that's where some of this was happening. And she's like, I go, it might be best if you just like maybe create a new Instagram so you can still do your Instagrammy stuff, but then stay away from this one. Do you know how many followers I have? I have thousands of followers. And just the concept of her being away from Instagram. And let me tell you, when I got her phone, because her mom finally did turn it over to me, when I got her phone, there were thousands of selfies of herself. And it's literally thousands. And all it was is, and it likes. It's a popularity contest. And so it's definitely quantity versus quality. That's why a lot of times you'll see kids not using their privacy settings. They want to accept everyone as their friends. They don't care who they are because it's a popularity contest. And I really do believe that's true, that they measure their success and their self-worth in the how many likes they get. Photos and videos are public unless the privacy settings are enabled. Private messaging is now an option. Teens may be more likely to share the inappropriate messages or messages with their inner circles here. Yes?
If you made something private, so it's not for public, can the people in your group make it public?
Yes, I mean, I'm sure they could still share it. It's like Twitter or Facebook or anything else. You got to trust the people that you have because they can always copy of it, screenshot it, send it to somebody else. So that's why it's really important to really lock down privacy settings, have your pages private. But unfortunately, it's that push-pull of the, but I want everybody to like everything I'm doing and know everything that I'm doing. And if I only limit it to my 5 real friends, then, that's not as fun. House party. This was a new one that I learned about. Do you guys know of this? Just came out. Okay. So essentially, it's a group video chat It's like Skype, but you can have up to 2 to 8 people in the chat together at one time. So it's like you're at a party. If someone who is not a direct friend joins the chat, teens will get the alert in case they want to leave the chat. You can also lock a chat so no one else can join. What parents need to know: users can take screenshots during the chat. Teens like to think that whatever happens in the chat stays in the chat, but that's not necessarily true in this case. There's no moderator. Part of the fun of live video is that anything can happen, but that can also be a problem too. Unlike static posts where users can take their time to review, live video chats are spontaneous, so it's impossible to predict what kids will see, especially if they're in a group chat with people they don't know well. Meet Me. Anybody know Meet Me? No? Okay. Says it all in the name. Although not marketed as a dating app, Meet Me does have a match feature whereby users can secretly admire others. Its large user base means fast-paced communication and guaranteed attention. What you need to know: it's an open network. Users can chat with whoever's online, as well as search locally, opening the door to potential trouble. Lots of details are required at registration, like your first and last name, age, and zip code, or you can log on using Facebook account. The app also asks permission to use location services on your teen's mobile device so that the app can find the closest match wherever they go. I had a case involving a teen who was seeking out sexual acts with older men, and this was the app she was going to. Because it's location-based, you can get on there, you can find someone kind of local in your area, swing by, pick you up, that type of thing. So when it's got the location base, it's always, I think, somewhat sketchy. Omegle. Talked about Omegle a little bit earlier. It's a chat site that puts 2 strangers together in a chat or video chat room. Being anonymous can be very attractive to teens, and Omegle provides a no-fuss opportunity to make connections. Its interest boxes also let users filter potential chat partners by shared interests. What you need to know: users get paired up with strangers. That's the whole premise of the app, and there is no registration required, which means if a crime is committed, there is likely no way of tracking, locating, or identifying its users. This app is not for kids and teens. Omegle is filled with people searching for sexual chat. Some prefer to do so live. Others offer links to porn sites. The language is a big issue. Since the chats are anonymous, they are often much more explicit. Tinder. Do you guys know what Tinder is? Okay. Dating app. It's a photo and messaging dating app for browsing pictures of potential matches within a certain mile radius of the user's location. It's very popular with 20-somethings as a way to meet new people for casual hookups or long-term relationships. What you need to know: it's all about swipes. You swipe right to like a photo or left to pass. If a person whose photo you liked swipes like on your photo too, the app allows you to message each other. Meeting up and hooking up is pretty much the goal. There's other apps like this, like Bumble. I think Bumble is kind of the same idea, but you can only message if only the girl can message you, the boy. So it's a little different, but dating app is the same. Tinder is location-based. Geolocation means it's possible for teens to meet up with nearby strangers, which invites trouble. Kik. Talked a little bit about Kik earlier. I hate Kik. I hate Kik because they are out of Canada, and it's like takes an act of Canadian Congress to get anything from them. They have different laws. Kik is a text messaging app. No service provider like Verizon or text message service plan or cell phone is needed. This app runs off Wi-Fi, which can be accessed from home or other businesses via devices such as a tablet, iPod, or cell phone. It's fast and has no message or character limits. Apps like this create another place for teens to send and receive messages. She went to the other door. What parents need to know: stranger danger is a huge issue. Kik allows communication with strangers who share their Kik usernames to find people to chat with. The app has been used in high-profile crimes such as child pornography and exploitation. The user's information provided at sign-up, like your name, email address, etc., is not verified by the app. In other words, I can put in, my name is John Doe 123 at Yahoo. It's totally made up. They don't care. They just want you to put something in. So if a crime has been committed, it's unlikely that through investigation we'd be able to locate and identify who the person is. So that app is a nightmare. Now what? What do we do now that we know what we know? So discussion starters for you with your kids. These are some of the questions that I came up with that you might want to ask your kids to kind of find out more about what they're doing online. What are your favorite things to do online? What apps do you like to use and why? Is your child aware of their app's capabilities and what features are they using within the app? Who do you talk to online or via your apps? What social media sites do you have accounts with, like Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, etc.? Are you using your privacy settings on your social media and app accounts? Have them show you. What is personal information and why should you keep it private? What personal information about yourself have you shared online, like your real name, your address, your phone number, your school, your employer? Again, I think it's wise to kind of just have fake information, Sally Smith. On my profile, I live in Waterville, New York. Yes, I have pictures of my family on there, but my stuff is locked down and only the people that I want to have find it can find it. At least that's what I hope. What do you do if someone online asks to meet you face to face? Besides me, who is someone you feel you can talk to if you're in a scary or uncomfortable situation? So general safety tips, having your teen use their privacy settings or have their sites locked to private on their accounts will help to control who sees the information they share. Keep in mind though, your teens, their friends or followers can always share, retweet, copy, and paste your teens' provided info. Remind your teens to be careful about sharing any personally identifiable information. Brainstorm screen names and email account addresses that do not contain information about gender, identity, or location, and avoid being suggestive. Teach your children never to open emails from unknown senders and to use their privacy settings on instant messaging programs in order to block messages from people they do not know. Be aware of other ways your teen may be going online. In the case involving the girl who went on to Omegle and then Kik and then Skype, her parents thought that maybe she wasn't mature enough to have a cell phone. So they gave her an iPod. And it was one of the bigger iPods that kind of looked like an iPhone, and said she could put all the apps you want on it. So essentially, she had the capability of the smartphone, she just couldn't call anybody. So that's how she was doing all of this stuff, was through the Wi-Fi in the home. So be aware of what other devices your kids may have and how they may be connecting. Does your teen have a Dropbox account? Do you guys know what that is? Okay. It's a secure file sharing and storage account. The reason why I ask this is sometimes people keep really secretive stuff in there. I'm working a child porn case right now involving a teen, and that's where they're storing everything. So it's just something to think about. If they have a Dropbox account, that's where maybe they're keeping stuff that maybe they shouldn't have. Consider time limits for electronics to include a shutdown, turn-in device time at bedtime. You may be surprised how late teens are sending, receiving, posting, and chatting. A lot of my cases, when I get the cell phones or the search warrants and the timestamps, it's like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, they're sending stuff out. That the picture of the girl with the 2 guys on Twitter, that went out like early hours of the morning. Consider having your teens use their electronics where they can be monitored, high traffic areas of the home, versus behind closed doors. Ask yourself if it's necessary that they have their electronic devices at school. Tell your child not to share passwords with anyone but yourself to help avoid identity theft and cyberbullying. We've had cases in the past where, best friends share each other's passwords, or boyfriends and girlfriends, then things go south in their relationships, and next thing you know, they're using those passwords they know to get into their accounts to cause havoc. So, no sharing passwords. And it's that time for questions. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm afraid to read this up because I already went to the Amish country. Like my almost 10-year-old daughter uses Roblox, which is like an online game similar to Minecraft, and they're chatting with whomever, and then my son does something called TeamSpeak, and some other online game, so that's freaking me out. But what really kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority here, but I'm 45. Like there's my phone can do so many things that I don't even understand, and so I feel like I'm at a disadvantage. Because not only do I not understand all this stuff, they know more about it than I do.
Absolutely.
I pick up my phone, I hand it to my son. You know what I mean? So I'm now freaked out.
Well, I'm embarrassed to admit that I have not that I have a 5-year-old son, but that he plays Roblox. And it's like a little game and, E for everyone. So I'm like, E for everyone, you're good. And then I found out, I read some article somewhere where pedophiles were going in. And now granted, he can't read yet, so that's good. Where they invite the kids, hey, go into the pool area. And so your little guy goes into the pool area, and then the characters do crazy stuff. And so I was like, told my husband, no more Roblox, And so, yeah, and in fact, my son had told me, yeah, people are trying to talk to me. And I'm like, oh, like I had no idea. And so I've been guilty too.
So I guess that wasn't really a question, because I just really wanted to split it here. But I don't want to be alone. But I did have a question. You said you go to high schools and do talks, but like my kids go to K through 8. Do you ever go to some of those like middle schools? Because I'm thinking they're 12, 13,
Right.
14.
So I currently do go to Edmonds Woodway High School, and I'm in the works of trying to at least go to College Place Middle School, and then also Madrona, which are our Edmonds-based schools. But I just had Holy Rosary reach out to me. That's a school sometimes we all forget because we never go there as the police. And I actually am doing I'm actually doing a presentation for them at the end of the month. So yes, I am trying to branch out, but I'm the only detective that does sex crimes for the city. So with resources and time management, I try to get it in when I can. Yeah. Oh, it's on. So Vanna White is gonna. Do you have a question back there, sir?
Yeah.
I can hear you, but we're recording.
Okay, so maybe you could have some kind of steps on Facebook, how to make your account private on the different social media.
Can you make
avenues?
the sites private? Yes.
I know you can't, but maybe you could show us steps on how to do that. You don't have it tonight ready, but maybe that's something you could post here so people, here's the steps to make
That's a good
private.
idea. Yeah, absolutely. Because some of those, arguably, some of those websites aren't very user-friendly. I've noticed when I've perused Facebook, some people, like, none of their photos are showing. And I'm like, how do I get none of my photos to show for people? And I feel like they have so many instructions, it makes it really difficult. But that's definitely something good. Oh, very, very good. You had a question way in the back.
I was just going to comment. Can you post this presentation on the Edmonds Police?
So what we're going to do is we're going to post it to our YouTube page, correct? Yes, our YouTube page. Okay. Any other questions?
And we'll put it out on Twitter for those of you that follow Twitter, if you're still following Twitter after this presentation.
Right? Go ahead.
You ready for the echo?
Okay. Thanks, Stacy. Great presentation. I have a question about Facebook, and I admit to being a fairly regular Facebook user, and some of the things that you've pointed out to me tonight I think are going to change the way I'm dealing with Facebook. For instance, I just got back from a vacation, and I posted a bunch of pictures of my vacation, and now I realize, well, I'm telling everybody, hey, I'm gone. Come burgle my house.
Right. And you have a pretty unique last name, so finding maybe where you live might be kind of easy.
I probably would. Luckily, my son and his pit bull were living at the house while I was gone. That helped somewhat. I didn't mention that, though. Maybe I should have. But what I wanted to ask you was, I frequently get friend requests on Facebook from people that I'm already friends with. And apparently someone is spoofing their account. Do you know what's going on there? Is someone trying to lure and collect friends or something by posting phony accounts of other people? They'll take the person's profile picture and some other information about them and create a Facebook profile.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I already am friends with this person. Why are they asking me to be friends again?
Well, yeah, and I have not had personal experience with this, but often I'll get my real friends on Facebook saying, hey, apparently my account has been hacked. If you get a friend request from me,
Yeah.
a new one, don't
Yeah.
accept it because somehow their page was hacked and they're going to use the information that they found to do whatever, I don't know. But yeah, if you get a double friend request from somebody that you're already friends with, I wouldn't accept it because they're trying to collect. One of the scams that I know about is a Facebook scam involving a friend of mine actually had this happen where somebody went overseas and, excuse me, that's wrong. Somebody contacted my friend and said, hey, it's me, Sally. A real friend that she has is Sally. It went into her account and said, hey, it's me, Sally. I went over to Europe. I got robbed. My passport was taken. Blah, 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 blah. Can you send me money? And what was interesting was Sally, the friend, was not a very close friend of the person she was contacting. They were kind of acquaintances in high school. So it was like, okay, this is really suspicious because Sally probably would not be coming to me for money. She would be going to her close friends and family. And so they will do that. They'll kind of go down the line of your friend list to, scam that way. I know of that scam, but I would be very wary of, if the little hairs on the back of your neck are going up,
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
When that happens. It occurs to me, and I'm not an expert on this by any means, but perhaps someone would do this to get you to friend them. And then once you do, there's more information that's available about
Absolutely.
you to people
And this
on
goes
your
back
friends
to,
list.
yeah, this goes back to what I was saying before, don't friend people that you don't know, or friends of friends.
Or even somebody that you do know if it's someone you're already friends with.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
So, yeah, just be wary.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Go ahead, miss.
But we've had some trouble with my son, who's now a freshman in high school. The school district issued Chromebooks.
Chromebooks, yep.
And prior to the district issuing Chromebooks, we had him, he would do his homework on our home computer, which we had rigged with all this Microsoft family safety and kind of like, Third Reich. I'm like monitoring everything that he does, and I've got all of his, I know what sites he visits, how many hours he's spending on the computer.
Because it was on
Because it was on mine.
Your PC.
And then they issued the
Chromebooks.
and I have no visibility anymore of what he's doing at all.
Right.
And he's smart enough to clear his browser history, not necessarily because he's like
Mm-hmm.
looking at porn, but because maybe he's playing a game instead of doing his history notes. But I don't know what he's doing on there.
Absolutely.
All I know is he's doing homework. And so the school district says that if you have a concern about a specific site, like if I think he's on Tumblr or whatever, then I can say, hey, I think he's on Tumblr. And they will neither confirm or deny it, but they will block the site if they find that he's accessing a site that they want them to not access. But
Right.
the parent cannot know what their kid's browsing history is on the school-issued computer because of privacy. Does that sound right to you?
Their policies, I can't answer that question. Maybe he can.
Well, apparently it's like the same kind of privacy laws that, like at the pediatrician's office, how you can, once they're 12, you can't have access to their online medical record. So I don't even know that but it's just hard to, 'cause
Well-
I want to be on top of this stuff, but if we don't have
Absolutely.
any visibility.
Well, and another thing, this can go, from what I understand, which isn't much about the Chromebooks that the kids are given to by the school for use, is that there's firewalls and there's certain things that they've put on so the kids can't go to certain websites and whatever. But from my last presentation, a mom came up to me and said, yeah, my son's doing all types of stuff on his Chromebook.
Yeah, mine is
So-
absolutely doing stuff he's
and
not,
this-
theoretically, he's not able to do any of the stuff that I know he's doing, and that doesn't include what I don't know
Right.
that he's doing.
And unfortunately, the tough thing is that this is going to take more monitoring on our part. If you as a family need to come up with what your boundaries are with regards to what you want your kids to be doing online and not doing online. And if you find out that they are crossing these boundaries, then you need to take action and whatever the action is going to be. This kind of goes back to what your question is like, I can't keep up. I'm 45. I'm behind the times. My suggestion to you, and this is kind of funny sometimes. Like with the mom of the girl who had thousands of selfies. I was like, you can take her phone away. I can? I'm like, you paid for the phone. She doesn't own the rights to, the parents have no idea what they're allowed to do. Take the devices away,
Actually, I tried, so I take his phone away all the time. And actually, he has his phone way less than I have his phone. But the Chromebook, I actually did try to take it away one time, and I was told by the school that I needed to give him back that educational tool because he needs it.
Wow.
Yeah.
In my understanding, though, is that Chromebooks are really hard to lock down anyway, that they're not as easy as like a laptop or a PC. Because I had an IT kid at work try to lock it down, and they're hard to do.
Right. And unfortunately, like I said, I don't have as much knowledge about the school's Chromebooks. But with regards to all the other social media and stuff, it's going to take work on your guys' parts to, either randomly or periodically, hey, let's see what you're doing on your phone. Open the phone, see what the apps are. Be aware there's also apps, which I haven't seen, but I've heard of, where the app will look, oh, by the way, I didn't know if I told you this, I don't think I did. The little pictures on these slides I had back here, like that's what the app looks like. For Kick, and then Tinder. And now keep in mind, the companies are constantly updating the look of their software and stuff, so it does change. But go through and see what their apps are. Ask them, hey, what is this, if you don't know what it is? Oh, what is it? Okay, it's blah, blah, blah. What do you do with it? How do you use it? Why do you use it? Those types of questions. Because you're not going to know unless you educate yourself. And, one of the apps I was telling you about, so it'll look like a calculator, but it's something else. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know. I mean, I was just telling her, I'm like, there's hidden apps behind,
right.
Nice looking apps there.
Hidden apps behind apps. So it'll look like a calculator, but maybe it's a messaging app. So maybe if your child's doing messaging with someone that maybe you forbid them to see, or naughty messaging, whatever the case may be, there's ways to hide what they're doing. We're never going to be caught up with their education level on this technology. We're just not. But we can do the best we can to monitor what they're doing, keep tabs of what they're doing, set boundaries, let them know, hey, if you cross any of these boundaries, I'm turning off the Wi-Fi, I'm taking your phone, I'm taking your tablet, I'm taking your whatever, and until you can, show me that you're mature and you're responsible enough, then that's what it is. It's really tough because we're in a culture where, well, Johnny, Sally, Bobby, and Joey have it, and now I want, and that's been since the beginning of time, right? And there's this pressure on parents to give their kids the latest and greatest things, and it's not fair if I don't get it too, but arguably, and through research, it shows that, their brains are still developing, and this stuff really isn't the best, most healthiest stuff for them to have, but yet we're like, here you go, I don't know what this does, but go have fun. And so it's going to take a lot of work on your guys' part to keep up with it. And a lot of it could be getting the app yourself, seeing what the apps are on their phone, take a picture with your camera, and then go find the app in the Play Store and go find out what it is. Install it on your phone, play with it, figure out what it is if they're not going to tell you. And if they're not going to tell you, then maybe they should have a cell phone. So unfortunately, it's just going to take a lot of work on your guys' part. But clearly, there's a lot of reasons why we need to keep up with it. If not to monitor what they're doing, monitor what other people may be doing and talking with them. Anybody else? Go ahead. Hey, Sergeant Holly, I'm going to have you not use the microphone because I'm having a hard time hearing them with the feedback.
Okay.
So there is some technology called block apps. Do you know about that?
I do not know about that. I know there's lots of maybe social media monitoring apps or software that you can have installed on your kids' devices and stuff that, if key phrases or things come up, you'll be alerted. So there is some software like that, but I haven't heard about the Block app.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know there's like, you can pair it to a phone as a parent, and so the kid can't take it off, and it will block a lot of different apps. And I don't know all of the apps, obviously, and I don't know how well they keep updated on everything.
Mhm.
All of the new things coming in. But there's like a 14-day free sign up, so you can kind of see what everything is, and I think it's like $15.
Well, another thing too, and that's really good information, so thanks for sharing with that. Another thing you can do is like what I did. I mean, I'm almost 40 and I'm kind of out of the mix. So I went online and I Googled top apps kids are using today. Snapchat. I don't have Snapchat, but a lot of my cases involve Snapchat. So I just Googled, what is Snapchat? Go to snapchat.com. It'll tell you all about it, what you can use, what the uses are for it, what its capabilities are, and that type of thing. So you can actually really quickly educate yourself on what the apps are by just Googling it. So go ahead.
Younger kids who are just now starting this whole process, but it's happening really fast. I feel like once you open the gate, it's open, and it's just, so he plays on this kind of littler kids site, it's National Geographic Animal Jam, and these little animals, these decorative animals, blah, blah, blah. But there's a messaging in there. They limit the words you can say and how you can spell. I know I kind of watch them play it, I'll check in on them. But they have this clever way of getting around that, and everybody knows that number 5 plus of this means that, or I don't know how they figure this out, but it seems harmless because I was trying to think how would I get information from these kids when they can't type numbers, and so it seems restrictive, but what's your thought on that kind of stuff? Is it as restrictive as I think it is? I mean, I tried to type messages on his account and I couldn't get it to say anything, but after hearing about like roadblocks where you could, meet me at the pool, because he does it all the time, meet me in this land, and off he goes, and they're trading.
Right. Absolutely. And, and I think, pedophiles and predators, they're opportunists too. And they know that, parents can't be watching their kids 24/7. They know that kids just kind of can go off and do whatever they want on their phones. And they're going to go to the places that they know kids are at. And, it takes one quick misstep from your child, and next thing you know, they've got them, where they want them, if you will. So, there's so many apps. There's apps for, what they say, there's an app for everything. And, when one app has become really popular and overblown and exposed, then something new comes out. And that's the next latest and greatest craze. And so it's really just going to take a bunch of diligence on your guys' part to educate yourselves on what they do. Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to talk about this openly with him without scaring him to death.
Right.
Nervous about this kind of stuff, bad guys, and
yeah.
who's on the other end, which is good and healthy to a point.
Right.
Make him a neurotic,
Healthy paranoia. Yeah. And it's a fine line. Only know, what your kids, if they're rule followers, if they're more likely to fall into peer pressure, if they're mature or not mature, you've got to make that determination on, what it is they can do and how much of it they can do. Time limits, I think, is a good thing. Turning the phone in at night, I think, is a really good thing, especially depending on like how little your kids may be, or even preteens. I mean, heck, even teens, because they're out doing it, all hours of the night. And, they're doing this stuff behind closed doors.
Well, I think for me, if you take their feeling of invincibility, coupled with the fact that they're probably more knowledgeable about this than you are, it's like a perfect storm. And go on. Just gonna do it.
Well, I have a friend who is very aware of this type of, thing. She's working in school, and she told her son, okay, well, you're about the age, we're gonna, I want an iPhone. She's like, okay, well, you can have an iPhone, but I'm gonna put this parental monitoring on it through the text messaging. So whatever text you're sending out or whatever text you're receiving, I'm gonna get them too. So if you're gonna ask the girl for the sexy pic, I'm getting it too. He's like, well, then I don't want a cell phone, and it wasn't so much that he wanted to send the pictures out. It was more of like, I just want my privacy and I don't want you all up in my business. But it kept him from wanting a phone for a while. So that was, a plus for her. But there are lots of monitoring apps and such. I know through Apple, you can go to Apple and what is the Apple Store, if you have iPhones, and you can ask them or set aside some time, reserve some time, and they can go over with you some ways to, protect your kids, monitor your kids, put, software on their phones, etc. Set parental blocks or whatever if they have iPhones. So, yeah. It's daunting, I understand. It's a big hill, and unfortunately, I don't think they're always going to be ahead of us on the hill. We can only do what we can do, and on one hand, you kind of give them some freedom and trust them, but nothing says that you can't monitor what they're doing. So. Absolutely.
Today, this is a snapshot of time. By next week, there will be new apps, new ways to use them. The predators, bad guys will be zeroing in on where the vulnerabilities are or opportunities from their perspective.
Right.
Various apps. What can you tell parents, teachers, anybody else that works with kids? Where do you see the tipping point? When do we call you?
You call me whenever you think that your kid has been victimized, a crime has been committed against them. So whether someone's trying to exploit them, kind of like the video we saw earlier, like, do this or I'm going to do that. If
So if you see any evidence of this kind of stuff, that's the time to get the police.
right, or even if you think, like, hey, I sent this picture to this guy and there's rumor that he's passed it around, we can always, do basic level investigations. But yeah, I mean, there's no harm comes in reporting things. We can determine at that time whether or not, oh, this is a crime or this is not a crime.
This whole thing just seems to be moving so fast.
Yeah.
Every day, new ways to get around what are, and with the safety guidelines that we talked about today, there'll be something new next week.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Anybody else? Go ahead, Miss.
Sorry to touch on it, but I wasn't sure if you knew of any others because I know that tween also does more into gaming
Okay.
than social media things. Are there specific game apps aside from
Roblox is the one. Go ahead.
online games? I just discovered that like on the Wii, and when they go to a friend's house, even stations, they can play live.
Yep.
Online.
That could be the issue too, because then when you're live, you're with anybody who's online, so there's communication through that. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know of any other specific games per se, but I would warn about any games that have messaging involved, where random person can tell your kid whatever they want to tell them. No meeting people through the game. That would be my suggestion, depending on their age. Is that it? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming today, and thank you. Also, there are flyers. There are flyers at the front table if you want to take one.